I'm here today with Luisita Pumphrey. She has been a killer of a realtor in the area of Boston, and I wanted to partner up with her so we can prepare you to buy in 2023.
Yes.
You ready to share some tips with me?
Yes, I am. And it's a great time to start, Talita. A lot of people have been waiting pretty much, some time for now. And it's how do I get started for 2023? And, I'm ready to buy now. What do I do? And also, why is now a good time? Which is always the question, like starting the year at the end, in the middle. Yeah. So, yes.
It's a great time. And, I always say that ideally, we want buyers to come 3 to 6 months, at least, ahead before they purchase. And why is that? One, I think that any decision made rushed, right, is not a good decision.
Nope.
When you try to rush to make a decision, it usually involves a lot more risk. Now, when you have time to make a decision, you can make a much better decision. So for buyers who have maybe their lease coming up in the next 3 months, because a lot of buyers I find have their lease expiring in the first 3 months out of the year. Right now, if they come and they send their paperwork and they get a pre-approval, now you have time to look for the right property. Because if they give you 30 days to look for the right property, is that enough time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it depends. And also another thing to take in consideration, how about if they have a lease somewhere else and that lease is not due in 6 months? So then you have to make sure that, are you going to be paying penalties for that lease if you break it? So taking the time to plan this and out of layout, we could plan it out 3 months before, 6 months before, but definitely doing with time when we can think of all this, which people don't think about, So we have to make sure that we think of everything when we're planning when to do it.
Okay. So for those of you trying to get pre-approved now, the closing time for a loan. So once you find, so let's talk step by step here so people can understand the timeline and why we're saying 3 to 6 months. So you said 30 days is enough to find a house, but not enough to find a house and close, right?
Yes. So to find a house and close, I'm going to say between 45. I put like 39, 45, and it also depends on so many things. It depends the type of job that you have. How easy is it going to be to get like all the paperwork and everything we need? So I've done closes that could be 20 days if it's cash and if it's something very, very easy. But then I have some that it could be 60 days, and we're still working on them. So it really depends. Also, one of the things we cannot stress about is how committed the buyer is to getting everything to us.
Correct.
So if it takes you like the whole week to get me just a copy of the W-2, so it's going to be a little bit longer. That someone that's just like I asked them.
Send it right in.
Yes.
Right. And that's the thing that I always say is that a closing where we have 45 days to close, even 60, is a much smoother closing than the closings that we have 20.
Yes.
Because we're trying to rush and it's a lot to get done in 20 days. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot for you as buyer to provide to us. And it's the process is stressful. Why make it more stressful and pressure you to move even quicker? So I always tell my buyers to one of the things that I see that I come across all the time is that they will start the process and give a notice to leave their apartment. And they're like, I gotta leave my apartment by the 30th and we're closing on the 29th. I'm like, nope. How about you stay, pay 1 more month of rent and stay in your apartment 1 more month? Because there could be delays on closing, right? You never know. And sometimes it's us, sometimes it's the seller, sometimes it's you. You don't know. Right? We could all get sick. You could get sick. I have instances. I had one where the seller passed away the week of the closing.
Oh my God.
So the house had to go to land court. And they're always saying, but can you guarantee? There's no guarantee. Right? Because in this instance, it went to land court and it only closed 4 months later because whoever inherited the house had to take possession, and then it took 4 months to close. Yes, we closed, but it took a few months.
Yeah, and also one thing that you can do as a tenant is you can talk to your lender at some point and explain the process you're in at that moment. And, could I be paying you rent weekly? Can I do maybe 2 weeks? And then we can talk about maybe if I need another week. So there's so many things you can do. And that's why talking to a professional that can lay out the plan on how it's going to be, it's a great opportunity to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for those trying to get pre-approved right now, what are the hottest markets you're seeing? Is there anything that you're seeing going on right now that you really love in the Boston area?
Yeah, so we're we love North Shore. North Shore always has, great towns. People just love it. So we work a lot in the Chelmsford, Tewksbury, Lowell's doing pretty good. We sell a lot of Lawrence, Methuen, Haverhill, Danvers. So we're pretty much all over the North Shore. Also, I do work in the New Hampshire area. So
tell me more about that, because
yes.
I love New Hampshire.
Yes, I do as well. And
what's the price range difference? Like on average, do you see a huge price range?
Yeah, I want to say a good 50, 75,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
On an average, like 350 home?
Yeah, because you definitely can get more home in New Hampshire than what you can get over here in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, it's a little bit more expensive. And
you're talking about like what commute difference to Boston? Like 45 minutes to an hour and a half?
Yeah, so it depends on the person. So let's say if you're in Nashville, you're going to be right on the border. So, it could be 15 minutes, but if it's going to Boston, to the city, which not a lot of people do anymore because you know how it is. And a lot of my clients are working from home. So then it could be 30 minutes, it could be 45, depending right now where your place of business is.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people go to Salem, New Hampshire too.
Yes. Yeah, Salem, it's a lot of people, they're doing a lot in Salem, so people really like that.
Yeah, definitely. What about I've been seeing a huge opportunity as an investor. I'm always watching the market, and the market is stabilizing quite a bit right now.
Yes.
And I do believe that as an investor, for all of you investors there, or anybody who wants to buy it as a first-time home buyer, and then that can eventually be your investment property. So you can always look at it with the eye of an investor. What are you seeing the opportunities in this market? Because I see market is stabilizing quite a bit. I see you guys being able to negotiate a lot more.
Yes.
So what are some of the opportunities you're seeing now that were not available a year ago?
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the main things. I want to say 2 years ago, 1 year ago, there was no way you were negotiating anything with a seller. Sellers pretty much had the upper hand. There would be even memes and jokes about they even won your firstborn. That's how bad it was. But now, you're able to go back, and the seller does not want to have the property 60 days on the market, so it's that thing
which honestly is not a bad thing.
Yeah,
but right nowadays they still want to sell in 2 days. I know.
Yeah, 2 days, 24 hours. So now you can go back to the seller and say, Mr. Seller, so we are interested in your home. We want to put an offer. We would much appreciate for you to be able to do some seller concessions, help us out with some points, so many things that now we're able to negotiate with the seller that we cannot do before.
And I love that, because guys, if you negotiate seller concession, meaning you get the seller to give you money for your closing costs, you can buy down the points on your loan, which brings your payment down.
Yeah.
And that is huge right now.
Yes.
Luckily, rates did go down a little bit, so that's a great...
I heard, yay!
End of the year news. But with that comes the help of an amazing realtor who can bring that down even more. So now, yes, the rate's still higher than last year, but prices have stabilized, so you're not paying $100,000 more than what the house is worth, which a lot of people were doing a year ago in Boston. And when you're gonna calculate that in your 30 years, same, you're on the same boat. And you can always refinance when the rates go back down.
Yes, exactly. And that's one of the things when people are like, well, I wish I would have like bought 6 months, a year ago. But it's the thing that you're mentioning. Yeah, but you would have overpaid probably 100,000 over.
Exactly.
And that's 100,000 that you're paying out of pocket. And that's 100,000 that you have to put and that you could have reinvested in something else.
Yeah.
As of right now, yes, you are paying a little bit more on the rate, but that first can come down as soon as you can refi. And the second, it's at the long term because you are splitting all the way to 30 years. So 100 right now, you know, or it's...
And that's exactly what it is. And most people, they don't understand that the average person stays 7 years in a house. So if you do, you know, let's say you're paying $500 more a month. If you do that times 12, how long is it really going to take you to save enough to make up for the 100,000 that you put more, 80,000 that you put above asking price?
Yeah.
A very long time.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? So it's almost like it was a trend. Buying a house became a trend because of COVID and everybody was doing it because it was like the rates are down, but nobody was looking at anything else. But again, in the eye of an investor, you got to look at everything else. And I just showed you my appraisal. We just purchased a house because if the returns are there, there's no reason why you shouldn't be buying.
Yep.
You know, JP Morgan just announced that they're investing like billions of dollars in real estate. They open a management division. That's not for nothing. They're watching the market and they see the opportunity coming where the market is stabilizing and they see where rents are.
Yeah.
So they're like, this is where my money needs to go.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that. And yes, of course, that's where the investments needs to be because people are always going to need homes. That is something that's not, you're not buying something because you want to, because you like it, it's comfortable. No, you are forever going to pretty much need a home. I think that's how it works. And it said, I was having a conversation yesterday with someone when they were trying to get pre-approved and they pay $1,300 for their car.
Oh my God.
So literally what the person is like, basically you're driving your car, you need to live pretty much like, you're driving your house.
Trade in,
you're driving your house because that's the mortgage of a house.
And I love that you have those conversations.
Yeah, it's like you're driving your house pretty much. You can put a restroom and that's where you're going to live because you have no money to go ahead and buy a house if that's what you're paying just for your car. Imagine what everything else is going to add up to.
And there's options, guys. If you come to us with a $1,300 car, guess what you can do? Trade that in and get something cheaper.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot that you can do. If you're really motivated to purchase a house, we'll give you the roadmap to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it's going to be up to you to do it. Yeah. Because you're either going to pay rent or you're going to pay a mortgage. Yeah. You need a place to live. You just said it.
Yeah.
And rent is just as expensive as a mortgage. Yeah. So you pay one that it's yours and then you can, okay, let's say, oh, but the market is not going to go up right now. Okay, but eventually with inflation, it will. You're paying for something that it's yours. You're paying down the principal. So when you sell the house, you put the money in your pocket regardless.
Yep.
When you pay for rent, is 100% rent. Calculate, if you're in Boston and you have any pretty much 2 to 3 bedrooms apartment, what are you paying? $3,000 a month?
Yes, or more. Yeah.
So $3,000 a month in interest, how much is that? Because it's 100% interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or would you rather pay 6% interest or 6.5% on your own property?
Yeah, no, and it's that thing. You're the one who's going to focus. You decide what you want to focus on. Are you going to focus on investment and you're investing in your future, or you're going to focus on paying your landlord's mortgage? Because that's
for his future, investing in his future.
So you decide which one you're going to pick.
Correct.
So
thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been great. And starting 2023, letting people know how to get ready for, starting the year right and make it that, to make that investment in themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.